Welcome back to the Reclaiming Creativity Summit. Today, I am so lucky to have Amanda Marley on today. She is a wife, mom, designer, carpenter, entrepreneur, and a lover of all things creative. She currently owns two small businesses, Real Fine Place and Soul Space. She has a passion for serving others with her creativity, cultivating an authentic, come as you are community, and pursuing whole life excellence for the glory of God. Amanda Marley, thank you so much for being here today. It is really an honor and a pleasure to get to interview you.
Well, it is a pleasure to be here. So thank you so much, Alicia, for having me on today.
Yeah, one of the things that I was really curious about, you have like an actual, Soul Space is an actual co-working space for
Yes.
women. I'm wondering, where did that idea come from? Can you let everybody know like how you brought that vision to life and why?
So yeah, Soul Space is, like you said, it's a co-working studio. But what kind of brought it to life was me needing a space for Real Fine Place. I, like you said, am a carpenter and I do all sorts of different woodworking. I build a lot of tables, a lot of benches, mostly things like that. I do custom artwork. Um, kind of a little bit of everything depending on what the client needs. I will figure out how to do it based on the client. And when I've had been working at CoLab to do all of the office related things, which was great. I loved working there. I loved CoLab. It was awesome. But having my workshop at home in my garage, my very, very small garage, was not working. It wasn't working for me or my husband, and having to like bring out all my tools and then put them all back, clean up after myself every single time, every single day, especially having two kids. Sometimes I would only be able to work for a couple hours at a time.
Mhm.
So, it was just not feasible. And my husband was finally like, I'm tired of having this in the dining room and our garage. So find a workshop. And I couldn't really find a place that was small enough for just me and also conducive to dirty space, clean space, kind of that situation. So when I found this space, I was like, well, it's too big, so why not share it? I've always had a passion for community and bringing people together, especially female entrepreneurs in general, especially for creative things in general. But when I was starting my business, I couldn't find anything like that. There's Meetup, of course, and there's a couple networking things, but real true community you don't often find when a lot of entrepreneurship in general can be butting heads or competition, and it just never feels like that safe space or that comfortable space where it's like I can go and talk about the things that are hard. So I used that opportunity to create that. And I was like, I cannot possibly be the only one with this problem. And having the opportunity to do it here was wonderful and also scary. Obviously, I had never done something like that before. I'm creative in general, but as a interior designer, carpenter, artist, whatever you want to label it as, that's a totally different thing than running a co-working space.
Right.
So, and I'm not an events coordinator, planner. That's never really been my thing. So figuring out how to differentiate it from that has been a little bit of a difficult area, but overall, it's been a really, really fun journey to meet people and, whether they're in the soul space community or not. Soul space in general has definitely been a huge blessing to not only me, but like my business in general. So I love it.
That's fantastic. And then is the heart of your business then Real Fine Place?
Yes. Real Fine Place is my baby. I started it when I was only a year out of college, out of design school. I had done the corporate thing for a year. And I mean, it wasn't bad. I knew going into college that I wanted to have my own business, but I wanted that business experience working for somebody else and really learning hands-on before I started my own thing. So doing that and then deciding to leave your job for entrepreneurship is very scary. My parents were not happy. But it was, looking back on it, that was the time to do it. And I'm glad I did. So it's been about 10 years, a little over 10 years since I started Real Fine Place. And it's grown and kind of developed into its own thing. I started just doing interior design, and did furniture kind of as a separate business. And then when I moved to North Carolina, I combined the two into one business. And so now Real Fine Place is custom furniture as well as interior design. And yeah, I love it. So it's awesome.
That's incredible. And, I think that you are the only that I know of, you're the only carpenter that I've had as a part of the summit. And I'm wondering how you got interested in that particular creative expression or creative outlet.
So my dad actually taught me. I grew up, I was very blessed with a mom who sewed and a father who used anything and everything to build. He was a woodworker just as a hobby more than anything. He's an electrician. Forester was really his title, but did woodworking all the time, and I loved doing it with him. I loved learning. I loved getting in there and learning how to use the saw and the drills when I was like super young. And he's like, just wait till I get home from work, please. Just it's like, but Daddy, I really want so when I was finally old enough to actually learn, he taught me pretty much everything I know when it comes to carpentry. And I didn't ever grow out of it. Some of those things when you learn them as a kid and then you kind of grow out of the love for them. But that was one thing that I never grew out of. I loved creating something new, either out of something old or something that didn't exist before, and just getting my hands dirty. I loved being in the workshop, and it's never gotten old. So because of him, I was like, I want to incorporate that in my business. And I didn't want my business to look like just another design firm either. I wanted it to be quote unquote affordable, if you will. Of course, interior design at any level is an investment or something that, you have to splurge on or whatever. But it's one of those things that it can be really, really high end. It can be kind of in the middle. So I would probably put myself a little bit in the middle. And I like to create things specifically for my clients that mean something, and not just go to market and buy whatever looks cool. I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing that. But for me personally, I wanted my client spaces to reflect not only their personality and their style, but also, have meaning behind them and memories behind them. So I really enjoy doing that.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Yeah.
I'm curious, do you have any creative rituals that you do on a regular basis?
I wouldn't really say that I have any creative rituals. I think that sometimes just letting myself create for the sake of creating is really important. I don't want to say I don't have time, because no one ever has time, but I don't make time enough to make things just for myself, or make things specifically because I had an idea and I thought it might be cool to try it out. when what you love to do is also your business, it's really easy to get caught up in, oh, I need to do this and I need to do that and I need to do this for this client and that for this client and I need to work on XYZ for business. But just getting in the workshop and having fun is something that I really love doing. I don't do it enough anymore, but when I do, it is definitely something that fills me up and it draws me back to why I started it. So in those moments when I feel like I have no idea why I'm still doing this, this is really hard. And sometimes it kind of sucks. That's usually what I know I need to do is just get out there and have fun for a minute, you know?
If you were just gifted like 3 free uninterrupted hours in your workshop, like what would be the thing that you like to create for you, right? Like
Yeah.
not for someone else, like what would be your go-to right now?
So I really like making things out of scraps. So I have a box in my workshop of just reclaimed wood scraps, and they can be anything from really, really small pieces of wood to, 24-inch pieces that just got left over from a table or whatever. And I love making like small end tables or things like that out of scraps and kind of like piecing them together. And then I have a friend who pours resin, and so I'll make some of those sometimes and be like, hey, can you pour this for me? And then it turns out really cool. And there's been a few projects when I was actually able to do that for clients, and I just love when I get to do that. So that's probably one of those things. I had made one recently. Well, not recently. I had made it a while ago, but it just sat in my workshop. Like it didn't have legs on it. It didn't have anything. I was like, does this need to be a table or a tray or something else hanging on the wall? Like, what is it? But I just really liked it. And I finally put legs on it like a couple months ago and put it in my office. And I'm like, now that this is in here, it makes me feel better. Like I love seeing it,
Yeah, it's great.
So
I would not consider myself a carpenter. However, you mentioned this sewing. A friend of mine came over a couple weeks back and brought me a sewing machine to use for a little while, and she had a pattern that I could use, and we made a little bag. And I'm so excited. Like every time I get to use that bag, I'm like,
yeah.
oh my God, I made this, and it's useful and it's cool.
Yes. Isn't that a great feeling? I love that.
The satisfaction of like completing a project of something that will actually use is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I do love that. I love having useful things, or things like artwork that you get to look at and you're like, wow, yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely.
I make that.
Yeah, it feels so good. It's such an empowering feeling.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is.
So what does creativity mean to you?
That's such a hard question. I think that creativity is in everyone. And I love the book of Genesis in general is my favorite book of the Bible. And in the beginning, God says, in the beginning, God created. And then, he lists all the things that he created. And then it says, we are made in God's image. And so by which we are creative because we are made in God's image and God is creative. And that to me means so much. And it's such a privilege. And I feel like everyone is creative, but not everybody realizes it. And so every time that somebody says that, I'm like, don't say you're not creative, because you are. And you might not be creative in the same way that I'm creative, but you are creative. So you just need to figure out what it is that you enjoy creating. So for some people, it's the same thing I do. And then for others, it could be as cheesy as a spreadsheet. Like,
Yeah.
but everybody's creative, and figuring out what it is that you love to do and love to create, you just got to find it. You just got to figure it out, you know?
Absolutely. I'm 100% with you on that. So, very much like me, you are a very busy woman. And not only are you running two businesses, but you have a family to take care of. And so, I'm sure that you have days where you're like, okay, I have to create this thing. I have to get this newsletter out, or I have to prep this event, which isn't my specialty. Or, yeah, I really have to work on that table because I have a deadline to get it to my clients. What's the thing that you do to help get you in the groove?
Um, it kind of depends on what the thing is. If it is like woodworking or interior design, um, I would say, just focusing on the task is hard enough in itself. um, but that kind of like gives you the groundwork to dig in. And but if it's something I don't want to do, then that's a whole nother thing where it's like, okay, I'm going to do this thing today, and that is my goal. By the end of the day is to get this done. Meeting deadlines is something that's very important to me, because I like to refer to myself as a promise keeper. If I say I'm going to do something by a certain time, I'm going to do it by that time. And being able to force creativity doesn't really work. So, when you're in that mode of, oh, I just really don't want to do this right now, um, taking a minute to just stop and pray about it. And I'm like, God, I don't want to do this right now. Please just help me want to do this. If anything, just help me get through it. And I have to do that, because like you said, when you're busy, it's hard to take the busyness out of the creativity. And sometimes that busyness creates a block, and getting past that can be difficult. So just taking a minute to like recenter, refocus, and ask for that creativity.
Yeah. I love that. Ask for the creativity.
Yeah.
I think you're onto something there. Like, be it asking God, asking our subconscious, asking ourselves, asking for the creativity. Like, that's a really beautiful way
And
to.
being honest about it, being honest, like, I don't feel creative right now. Remind me that I am, and then remind me that I can do this, and give me the creativity I need to do this well. I started doing that a lot when things just got crazy. And I mean, it really works. I do that a lot in other stuff too. I was never one to sit down and read the Bible and really enjoy it. Sometimes as a Christian, you just do it because you feel like you're supposed to want to do it. And sometimes you just force yourself. And so I was honest, and I was like, Lord, I don't like reading this. It's really boring sometimes. I was like, please give me the desire to want to read the Bible. And that prayer was answered just full. And now I love it. I think it's so much fun to sit down and read the Bible. I'm such a geek when it comes to that now, but I didn't used to be, so it's the same thing for creativity. I'm like, ask for what you want. And,
Yeah, I love that. Ask for what you want. How do you feel like you use creativity to access your inner wise woman? That inner knowing, that true self within?
I think that it's really getting back to yourself, right? Like remembering that you're wise even when you don't feel like it. And using that tool that you've been given, that the tool of creativity, to really dig into it and say, okay, I'm going to do this because I know that it's going to remind me that I am creative and I am capable and I can be strong and get through this and do it, um, you're never going to want to do something all the time.
Right.
But the wise choice is to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So even if just doing it is showing how you are wise, keeping your promises. It's like, I am wise because I keep my promises. I am wise even when I don't feel creative. And I think that in itself, there's a lot of power in that.
Yes, I 100% agree. Well, Amanda, I really appreciate you being part of the summit, and I think you have a free gift for everyone. Do you want to tell them what it is?
Yes. So at Soul Space, we do this thing called Planning Day each year. We did it in 2019, and I just started figuring out all of the details for the 2020 one. And I make this really cool, really awesome workbook that has a bullet journal in it and a goals list, and the whole workshop itself is a in-person workshop, but it's also online on our Mighty Networks Soul Space community. And in that workbook is the bullet journal. And so I have gifted that to your listeners, watchers, whatever you want to refer to them as. And that is on the Soul Space website. And I believe you're going to send them out the coupon code
Yep.
for that.
We're going to put the link to access that, and then the coupon code right under this interview. So it'll be right there for folks to click on. But I know that they are going to love that. So I hope everybody clicks on that and downloads it. And Amanda, thank you so much for being a part of the summit.
Thank you so much. And if anybody wants to check out the Soul Space community, that's on there too. And then Real Fine Place is just realfineplace.com. So yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Alyssa.